Tony Compton from the Amos Steel Company here in Hillbilly Caviar Studios. You're watching Guitar Tales with Dave Cohn. All Dave, all day. Get you some.
All Dave, all day. Get you some. You know what? No one got the memo because no one's trying to get me. Anyway, thank you so much, Johnny Compton. I love that bumper. I watch it all the time. It's cool. He's cooler than I am by far. Want to thank our sponsor of the show, as we do every episode, Mischief Studios, headed by the absolutely wonderful Charles Larita. Go there to get your guitar fixed. Go there to buy a guitar. If you buy it there, you won't need to get it fixed, by the way. Go there to get lessons if you want to improve a bit. If you'd like to record, go to Mischief Studios. Meet other musicians, go to Mischief Studios. It's in Pennington, New Jersey, which is really equidistant between New York and Philly. I've been in the space. Scott stopped by and visited Charles about 2 weeks ago and loved the studio space there. Absolutely fabulous place, and Charles is a great musician. So thank you again. We really are grateful for Charles's involvement with Guitar Tales here. And also, as I like to talk about every episode, I really want to put out my thanks and gratitude to my friend of 40-plus years, Scott Guitarmacist Engel. We've talked about it on the show. I will say it again. Fun fact, Scott and I were in The Cure many years ago. We were both members of The Cure. As a matter of fact, we were founding members of The Cure. Most people don't know that. And the reason is because we were named The Cure before the real band came out. And Scott has, I think he has it, the audio tape that says The Cure in 8th or 9th or 10th grader handwriting, maybe 11th. And then we turned into Noise Network by the time The Cure came out. But we were in The Cure. Now, we have a fabulous guest tonight on a wonderful, impressive, important, and really special night in his life. We have Matt Bradford on. We'll let Matt tell you why this is such a special day. He is a kick-ass musician, and we've been chatting before the show. He's got an amazing collection of guitars, and he does amazing stuff. So, Matt, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, man. I'm glad to be here.
We're glad to have you. I was a knucklehead trying to log in, so I had a few glitches, but we were on time, and we really appreciate your coming on the show. Scott just wrote in; he's a big fan. So am I. I took a little YouTube journey watching you today, and I know you're out in LA, right?
I'm out in LA.
So you play a guitar, but your guitar lay flat. And you're a drop D kind of guy, right?
Yeah, open D. It's a lap steel. And,
look at that.
And yeah, man, open D tuning. Because I used to play guitar and I screwed my hand up.
Oh, really?
Yeah, playing too much. I developed tendonitis.
Okay.
In these two, and so I couldn't do all this stuff. And that led to a lot of stuff. Like it moved me. So we're jumping in really fast here.
Oh, that's cool. Let's do it.
But basically, I was kind of doing some studio stuff, but I don't think I was ever a great guitar player.
Okay.
And so when I screwed up my hand, I was like, I don't know what to do. I was a guitar teacher and I was a studio guy. And I came down here and I started building guitars and fixing guitars. Yeah. And I started working for this guy, Bill Asher, who does the Ben Harper lap steels.
Oh, show us.
And stuff like that.
That's a beautiful guitar. Look at that.
You know, and so he does these. And I started working for him, and I was like, I can play one of those. And it was.
Can you give us a little, let's see how it works on the audio. Give us a little.
Oh, let's see.
Demo?
Let's see.
If only you had an amp right behind you.
If only I had an amp. If you can't see it, it's not in the frame. There's another 6 just stacked up right here.
That's great.
It's ridiculous over here. Let's see. Let's see what happens. good old tube amps got to warm up.
Yeah, there we go. Wasn't Scott? Weren't you in a band called 211 or something? What was the name of that band? He's got to type it in. Go to 11. Go to 11.
I'm gonna put this on 3 just for the sake of my marriage. You know what I mean? But,
let me hear a little more. But that sounds great.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, this little, I was blown away. I bought this Vibro Champ. It's an old 70s, and it's like everybody who plays this amp is like, that is a ridiculously good clean tone.
I was able to tell it sounded good.
It's crazy.
Now, do you know? I think it's an LA story because I tell a bastardized version of it. Do you know the origin story of Mesa Boogie?
I sort of, but not.
Let's hear your version of it.
Well, I just know that they were out here and they were modding Princeton's, I think, right?
That's what I heard. It was either Princeton or a Bax. Yeah, it was a Princeton or what's the other little one? The really little one.
Well, there's the Champs.
The Champ. I thought it was either a Princeton or a Champ, right?
Yeah, I thought it was a Champ, but and they just kept getting more and more gain until somebody was like, I want to do that. But that's all. It's pretty hazy.
Yeah, that's all I heard. But they were stuffing like a gigantic, wonderful amp into a little, either a Princeton or a Champ.
Yeah, yeah, I mean.
So what do you have in there? A 12? A 112?
That's an 8.
Oh, an 8. I can't see the size. Okay.
Which for home is perfect. Like I have a bunch of 112s, and I think it's all 112s. I don't have because where am I going to play a 212 or a 412? Like,
in your house. Yeah.
Or even at a gig. Like at this point.
Right. Like, the amp is not filling the room. It's the PA system that's filling the room.
Yeah, and no one likes. I mean, the sound guys don't. I'm working on getting smaller amps. I want to build myself a little Tweed Champ. I really like Tweed amps.
Right.
And I have this really cool. There's a company in LA named Black Volt. I got to plug Gio just because
absolutely
he's taking such good care of me. But Black Volt Amplification built me a really cool like Tweed style deluxe amp. That's their flagship model.
Okay.
It takes fuzz pedals and it just those lower headroom amps. It's still so loud and so good.
Right.
And awesome. It's awesome. But I love the local guys. Like Mesa was great.
Yeah.
I don't know about now.
Yeah, I mean they were amazing 35, 40 years ago. I mean, it's funny as we all get older, to me, like they were the hot new outfit out there, pulling ahead of Marshall and Sun and all the others, but now they're an old company,
Well, and they have like I try to buy amps where I can talk to the guys who built them.
Okay.
And I try to buy amps that are not on circuit boards. Like
right. No, I get it.
I want to be able to zap myself. You know what I mean? Get in there and I have an old '67 Bandmaster, I've done.
Oh, the head. You have a Bandmaster head?
Mm-hmm.
I had one of those years ago.
Good.
Yeah, I had a Bandmaster bass head that I used for guitar when I was in high school, and I forgot what I had an unrelated cabinet. It wasn't a Fender cabinet, but that thing was great.
Yeah, it shreds, and it's. I use it a lot I do this podcast. I do a lot of composition and stuff, and that's one of the. When I need the clean sound, the Bandmaster beats out my Tone King every time.
Really?
Every time.
Wow. Now Scott wants to know, and I want to know. So, what do you put in your videos? Which of your amps is in your videos?
So I put the amp. When you watch the videos on Instagram, for example, the amp is in the upper corner.
Right.
And I have 2 main amps. So I have that Black Volt Crazy Horse, and it's like a Tweed style amp, and it's got the lion painted on the front because I have a lion tattoo on my arm, and it's like a whole. It's such a Matt Bradford amp. It's awesome. And then I also there's a guy named Darko, and it's only. I'll send Scott the link after, but it's like DCC _ Darko's Custom Creations. There's underscores between all of them.
Right.
On Instagram. It's the only way to reach him.
Really?
Yeah, but there's these 2 guys that I was kind of.
Is he like on a mountaintop and you have to climb your way up?
I think it's possible. It's a very good possibility. But
and you have to answer 3 riddles like halfway.
Exactly. Exactly. And this is the other reason it's cool to get the little guys.
Yeah.
Is I was able to find there's tubes called 6CM6s.
Okay.
And they're basically a 9-pin version of a 6v6.
Okay.
And so if I want to get like a brand new pair of 6v6s, they're what, $50 for a new set. And for like a new old stock RCA set, they're $1 million. And I was able to get these 6CM6s for $5 each.
Oh, wow.
And so
that's something.
I said to Darko, I was like, can you build me an 18-watt plexi, like a blues breaker, but based around these tubes in the power section? And he was like, I got you.
Wow. So he built a whole amp around your inexpensive tubes.
Yeah. He built, I mean, for the power section, it's a blues breaker style amp.
Okay.
But it's using these tubes that are old. I have a box of old RCA black plates that'll hopefully see me out.
Oh, right. They'll last as long as you last.
I mean, I have like 100 of them, and they were $5 each. Like it was,
yeah.
It was the same as like 3 sets of decent, cool 6v6s. And so I have, those are my main, I have other amps, but those are my main two. I have this Plexi and I have the Black Volt. And then when I play live, if that ever happens again, I run them in stereo.
Right. Oh, that's cool stuff.
Yeah.
So what is your live history since you switched guitars?
So I played in rock bands in LA in the early 2000s. I'm 40, so I've been down here for like 20 years.
Okay.
And I was playing in rock bands with my Asher lap steel. Not that one that I showed you. There's another one over there that I built. But I was playing in rock bands.
We want to see that.
Let me grab it. This one I built when I worked for Bill. This is the first one.
Oh, it's beautiful. Are those P90s on there?
These are Wagner Godwood.
I can't even see. Oh, those are humbuckers. Now I can see.
They're Wagner Godwoods. And they're awesome. And this is a single piece of red cedar.
Oh, wow. Look at that.
I don't know if you can see how much damage is on there, but it's just.
No, it looks more pristine than I guess it is.
It's been beat up, but it's awesome. I played this for a long time. And then I started playing sort of like folk and country music.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so I started playing Beard Dobros, and I have a number of those. And again, I was a luthier all this time. So I was a warranty guy for Paul, or I could do warranty stuff for him if he needed something done out here.
Okay.
I trained up at National Guitars for a little while and did some of that stuff. And so I kind of became the folk guy. And I toured on that for a long time. I was doing, 200 dates a year.
Oh, wow. Now, who were you touring with? Like, what kind of bands?
Just playing with myself.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So as a songwriter, it was. And,
that's great.
Yeah, it was fun, man. I mean, it wasn't fun though. That was the thing. Like, I hated it. I didn't mind. I don't like touring.
I'm sure that's. Well, let's take a little side trip right now.
Okay.
So let's talk about touring. Let's start, since you said you don't like it. Tell us the few things you did like about it. There has to be something.
Yes, I love playing music.
Yeah.
And I sort of like talking to people sometimes. I'm pretty introverted.
Okay.
And the way that I can connect with people is to play music. So I really enjoyed, the thing that always moved me was meeting people at shows.
Right.
And then having the fireside jam, like late at night.
Afterwards.
Afterward. That was always that post-show hang.
The intimate part.
Yeah, and everybody had their guitars and we're hanging. But
that's great.
I could play to 300 people facing the stage. I played to 300 people in Austin, Texas, facing the stage, and I had a really tough night. I just didn't enjoy myself. The music was fine.
Right.
And then I played to like 3 people in El Paso watching like a football game, and I had a great night because it turns out for me, I'm not a performer. I just like to play music.
Interesting.
And so that was when I came off the road in October of 2018. And I remember I was in Fort Worth, and I'd gotten bed bugs for the 3rd time in 6 weeks.
Oh no.
And I was just like, man, I'm so tired. And I knew I had to drive. I had to do like a date in San Antonio, and then I had a 9-hour drive to El Paso
Holy crap.
on my way back to LA, right?
Now, who was booking you, by the way? Were you booking yourself, or did you have someone?
I did it all myself.
Wow.
And
so that's a lot of work. Maybe that's why you didn't like it, right?
Well, but I've toured with other guys, and I've toured in bands, and I've done short and long. I don't enjoy the travel.
Yeah.
So right now what I do is I wake up in the morning. I have a day job, but I wake up in the morning and I build a track, and then I play lap steel on it, and then I put it on Instagram. And that has become my stage.
Yeah.
And I get to come home and hang out with my partner and my cat afterward. So
oh, that's fantastic.
So, you know what I mean? Like, and I have like a job that has afforded me a bunch of amps. And,
I could tell, yeah.
You know, a bunch of guitars, and I have a shop in the garage so I can build. Like, I'm building these. These are mine that I build, and
wow,
it's like that is a way more fun. I don't miss the La Quinta Inn outside of McKinney, Texas.
Yeah,
I don't
I
miss
hear
that.
you. Yeah.
So
yeah.
all of those aspects of touring, sharing a hotel room and the lights are out, and we're getting into the hotel at like 2 a.m. and the singer starts trying to watch Beavis and Butthead, and it's like the van call is at 6 a.m.
Yeah.
Adam Roth. I don't know. You probably won't see this, but it was a really fun. I have these moments, and they're great moments, and I made great friends.
Yeah.
But I got like the whole process of touring. I play more music now.
Yeah.
Than I ever played.
That's two things before I forget. Scott wrote, and he's so right. We had Dylan Talks Tone on the show. I don't know if you know him.
I don't.
He is all about tone. You guys, we're going to connect you guys.
Okay.
Because you'll just geek out together.
Yeah.
On this kind of stuff. I really geeked out on him in the show. We talked about pickups for an hour, like about winding pickups for an hour, and I was fascinated, and he loves to chat about it. So we got to connect you guys.
I love that.
Yeah, but when you're talking about, you were doing this not because of COVID and not since COVID, but even before you made the switch.
Mm-hmm.
But I know, like for Scott and I, we love, and to some extent, I know we do miss our studio shows, because our first year of this, almost exactly a year. Yeah, it was exactly a year. March 15th of 19 was pre-COVID. But the amount of collaboration and creativity that Scott and I are able to devote to the show is greater now than it was when we were going to the studio. We love the folks at Riverview Studios. They're wonderful, and they helped us put together some beautiful shows. But we wouldn't, we were talking before we started taping, we wouldn't have met you. We've had many guests from, I feel like we had a guest in the UK once. I can't remember for sure. I know we had a guy from the UK, Johnny Bullitt, but he was in New York at the time. But I think we might have recorded one over there. We meet more interesting people than we could. Not more quantity, not that they're more interesting, but more people.
I'm more interesting. That's fine, Dave. You can say.
Yeah, I know. That's right. That's right. Yeah, you are the most interesting person we've met.
Definitely,
you are.
To myself, I am, for sure.
Yeah, that's right. You're the most interesting man in the room. But we get that, and then even like Scott is able to put all sorts of graphics in real time in post, and it just frees us up, and the artist in you, to make it not about us anymore, since you're the guest and we're not, but the artist in you has so much. Instead of driving 9 hours, you're creating for 9 hours.
Yeah, well, and having the downtime to get inspired, because that's the other. I'm working a little bit too much right now, and so I'm not writing. I can create in the mornings, but I'm not writing, because I need to write a song. I need to get bored.
Right.
And so sometimes when I'm too busy, but the whole online thing, I've gotten to connect. The guys who connected me with Darko, the guy who built that amp.
Right.
One of them is German, and one of them, I forget. I don't know where his name is Sasha Ivantic.
Okay.
And he's a demo guy. He's great. His tone's great. But those two guys both independently turned me on to Darko, and we met via Instagram.
Yeah.
And all of the stuff that I'm doing now all came from just not having to do shows. So I don't have expectations. So I can try out that new pedal, or I can try this new vibe, or try this new thing. that's getting me fired up, as opposed to like, all right, dude, we hired this dobro guy. Come out here with your dobro and sing your sad songs. which was great. I don't miss it, but like I enjoy those songs still. But it's the fuzz pedal, rock and roll. Let's do a weird like hip hop drum beat today, or let's program this and all that's, I'm endorsed by XLN Audio now, and they have these great none of that was happening when I was touring.
Right. And now you could do all that stuff.
Yeah.
Now in your sad songs, when you have your dobro, are you strictly an open D guy, or is that just one of the many things you do?
No, open D. I'm not. The idea of like multiple tunings and all that stuff is really challenging. The one thing that's cool, so open D, and then I can capo, and I can play on other keys, obviously. But I have a baritone. This is, I think it's now, Paul has now built two of them, but this was the only baritone beard guitar ever built for a long time.
Wow.
It's kind of a tune. It's like a million.
That's coming through. That sound it's not getting compressed.
Oh, good. Yeah. It really is. It's an incredible instrument that I worked at this shop fixing guitars, and Paul came in, Paul Beard, and I was talking to him, and I was like, who would build me a baritone dobro? And he's like, I'll build you a baritone. And I was like, well, all right, how much would it cost? Because these are not inexpensive. And he was like, well, the same as a regular one. And I was like, well, I have to, because they do everything by hand. It's a 3-person shop. And so, like, it has that, it's a little loud too. But yeah, it's the best. It's such an incredible instrument, that low A.
I can even tell how low it is, even through the internet, which we're doing right now. I could feel the richness of that deep tone.
Yeah, it's, and it's gorgeous, and it's the only one he built for a long time. He called me, I think during COVID, and was like, what are the specs on that thing I built you? And so I think he built the second one, which makes me angry.
That's super cool. So when did you migrate? Were you originally just a conventional tuning guy?
Well, once I started playing lap steel, open D, I started in open G, because that's kind of what that's what was the most material was around for.
Okay.
And open D is more accessible to me as a guitar player, which was my first instrument, because the bottom 3 strings are the same as drop D.
Okay.
And then after that, it was just like, all right, this is my tuning. And then I started. It was too hard to try other tunings. I was too lazy. I knew how to play this one. I was like, I'll just play this one only. And
now,
so,
is that at least, I don't know anything about lap steel. Is that a relatively popular tuning?
Yes, it would be like the David Lindley tuning would be the open D tuning. It's a relatively popular lap steel tuning for blues and for rock.
Okay. And then Scott's asking, and I will ask.
Yeah.
I noticed that to me, I didn't notice the look of the strings, but they they sounded thick. Are they Scott's saying they look thick?
Yeah,
are they thicker?
Huge. They're big.
So,
it's a 20 plane and a 22 plane on top, and then I want to say it's a 74 on the bottom.
Wow, that's super thick. Wow.
Yeah.
So the thinnest string you have on there is a 20 or a 22, you said.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. But even my main lap steel, these are 16 to 59.
Wow. So that's still, that's damn thick too.
Because
your action is unlike a regular guitar. I'm looking at it now. The action is quite high. It's supposed to be high. Yeah.
Yeah, because you're using a big steel bar, so you're not ever fretting.
Right. Yeah.
I'm always floating above, and in fact, if I were to press down, it just takes it out of tune.
Right.
So, and the bandana, and Scott's asking about the bandana. I use a capo from this guy named it's from a company called Hannah Guitars. What was my capo? There it is.
I noticed that on one of the earlier guitars you picked up, you had a bandana.
Yeah, it's on all of them, because I use these capos that go under the strings, and then
is that to mute it?
Yeah, these start to rattle back here.
Oh,
And so
okay.
if I put this up here and just pull it up, now they don't rattle.
Oh, that it's smart and it looks kind of cool.
Yeah, and well, it's interesting because I play with this fuzz pedal. Those fuzz pedals are such gainy pedals
Yeah, they're
that
gonna pick that
sometimes
stuff up.
and I'll pick up. I was doing a YouTube video and I heard just the strings rattling behind the nut a little bit, and I was
Right.
like, "What
Yeah.
is that extra?" All those little things. I had a guy in here recently, and he was playing his Strat, and I was getting this weird at the end of notes.
Wait, what
and
were you getting?
This like
Oh, okay. Just wanted to double check.
just and it was the springs in the back from the tremolo, and I ended up stuffing
Oh.
foam in there because whatever we were using, I don't remember what we were using. We had a lot of gain on there, and it was just making it crazy.
Yeah.
Now,
do you still play a conventional guitar at all, or you're done? Because
a
I know you
little.
had the injury or the issue with your hand.
Yeah, so I play I'll play backing guitar on my tracks or for composition and stuff, but
Not as you're not out in the forefront.
not in the forefront. And honestly, I can play some rhythm guitar and I'm okay. My groove is still fine, but I can't do the fancy stuff. Like my hands.
Right.
Well, yeah.
So Scott's reminding us we have some video of you. Maybe
Okay.
we could play a little bit.
Let's see it.
Let's see it. Oh, I like that segue.
Oh
That
yeah.
kicks ass. That I love that. So there's so much unpacking to do.
Okay.
Scott wrote in, and I agree with him. Love the pedals in the frame. That's a great thing because it allows us to see what's going on there.
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
loving.
for me,
yeah.
Don't you always want when I'm watching a video? I'm like, what is? I'm a nerd first and foremost. Like I've always been a gear nerd. I've always had guitar magazines.
Yeah.
I want to know what someone's using.
Right.
Always.
Yeah. I would love to see a Geddy Lee video that like you need 5 different cameras. The feet and the hands and all that. Yeah, Scott's right. We're all guitar nerds. We actually are. So that my observation, that was so heavy in a good way. That it to me it was like a bluesy Pink Floyd vibe.
Those are good things in my book.
Oh, I was going to say fuck yeah, but we don't curse on this show.
Well, no cursing. Watch your fucking mouth when you're talking to me.
I know,
yeah, I like it. It's my style kind of just grew out of all the stuff that I love because there's no songs. One of the joys of lap steel is that there isn't a lot of, unless you're doing the really the traditional lap steel stuff that you're hearing in country, that you're hearing some in rock, David Lindley and those guys. But I don't know of anybody else playing lap steel with fuzz pedals. And I was always a rocker.
Oh, yeah.
Even in the dobro sad song days, like I got accused of just banging on the guitar too hard. You know what I mean? Like there's people like, why would you take a guitar and hit it that hard? It's like, I don't know. This is how I play. I don't have any traditional training. And so this sort of sound, it's really cool. I used to always hear people say things like, be honest, just play what you feel. Right. And I've kind of found that recently.
Okay.
As opposed, I don't think that came natural. I was always trying to do something. And then this sort of grew out of all that.
Well, you know what I noticed that I thought was really cool. and I'm inviting you to correct me if I'm wrong. I'm getting the sense that to pull the percussion out of a lap steel is probably harder than a conventional guitar. And you were using timing for percussion, like you were coming in at a certain time to almost like create a percussive moment. I felt like
It could be. It's one of those things, and this goes. I'm not that technical. So
okay,
so my brother and I have this podcast that I score, and then he was like an award-winning reporter, and so we had this thing, and I do all the music. But we were talking yesterday about something in the script, and does it move the right way or this or that? And he was being very technical. I'm trying to do this and try achieve this, and I don't think about that. It just doesn't feel good. You know what I mean?
right,
In
right.
the moment, does it feel? That's it, and so it's allowed me sometimes to I think have a leg up. I learned really technically. I learned a bunch of scales, and I think that held me back. And
Interesting.
letting go of all that with lap steel again, it was like completely self-taught. So I don't have good technique.
Right, with the air quotes.
Right. I have my technique. I can't do when somebody's like, "Will you play Santo and Johnny?" I can't. I don't know how to play it.
Right,
Never learned.
So you've really and I think I know the answer to this already. Scott wanted to know because Scott is self-taught also.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to guess you don't read music.
I cannot sight read. I can if it's something I did sit down. I got bored with my notes that I was playing, and so I bought a real book.
Okay.
And I went to MI for a year, for 1 year, as a guitar player. And again, I never was a good reader, but I know what the notes are. And so I bought a real book, and I kind of was working through more of the chords than the melodies, but some of the melodies too on guitar, which was a weird thing for me.
Right.
But really, I enjoy just sometimes getting away from the rock and roll power chord. These are the chords, and getting into a little bit more of like, this is an interesting harmonic shift.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
yeah.
I'm not, the jazz thing is not my thing, but like the Bruno Mars stuff and the old soul stuff, and those are obviously very similar, but those cool, like a C to like a C sharp diminished to like a D minor to like a D diminished, and you're like, how would I play over that? That stuff can be really fun.
It's funny. His name has not made an appearance on our show yet. That guy,
Bruno?
yeah, he is absurdly talented, like stupidly so. I think,
yeah.
He's just one of those guys where it comes so easy, right?
Well, it's just, and it also is a breath of fresh air. So I used to work at a guitar store with Steve Vai's drummer when he first got the gig. I've worked with a lot of like guys at guitar stores who end up having these amazing gigs. But I remember going to like the 25th anniversary of the Gem, like the Steve Vai guitar.
Okay.
And it's just, the reason I tell you all of this is to set up this, which is there was obviously a lot of notes. I think I heard enough notes for the rest of my life that night. But everybody was playing, and it was just like more sweet. And it was like Paul Gilbert and Steve Vai and Satriani and all these guys. And it was just, there was a moment where there was just more notes and faster and higher gain and all this stuff. And then Andy Timmons came in with this big open clean, just like, and
interesting.
I feel like Bruno Mars, especially in pop music, especially in music today, when I hear it, it always makes me just go like,
right.
Like it's different and it's fresh and it's amazing, but it's not the same as everything else that's happening right now.
Right. And it's infused with some authenticity, a boatload of rhythm, and an interesting tone. Yeah.
Interesting tones, great chord changes, and some playful. Like the other thing is just playfulness, right? Like, music is supposed to be fun, and it gets so serious and so ridiculous. And I see the Rock to Recovery QR. So I'll tell you this: I was so serious, and I started working for this company called Rock to Recovery. And what I do is I go into these treatment centers for drug addiction and for mental health stuff, and for kids who have mental health issues, and it's all so
Good for
heavy.
you.
You know what I mean? Well, I mean, it's great. They pay me. So, I mean, it is great, but also they give me money to do it. It's not like out of the goodness of my heart.
But you have a good heart or you wouldn't be good at it.
I mean, it's joyful. But the thing that they taught me is I cannot take myself seriously. And I cannot take...
Oh, interesting.
Right? If I'm going to write a song with these guys who were like hiding in the bushes in their underwear because the FBI was in their vacuum cleaner, like I have to come in, and they're like, I don't want to, and I'm like, we're going to write a song. And they're like, we're not doing that, bro. And so I have to find a way to make it fun. And part of that has to be able to make fun of myself. And that's where the cat shirts come from, although I'm a huge cat person. And that's where the trying to soften a little bit of the, because touring, I got that job after touring. That's a whole thing. But touring, I was making enough money to stay in hotels, but I was checking in through bulletproof glass. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't, I was in some,
like the Blues Brothers movie.
Yeah. I came in with an edge. I had this edge because I was not in, because you had to be on guard and you had to be kind of closed off. And that's similar to being a drug addict. You have to be closed off. And and getting to a point where I can be really open, hopefully allows other people to open up. Part of that is not take, like if somebody's like, dude, this is you suck. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. And speaking of all this, talk to us a little. Today is a special day for you.
I am 10 years sober today, which is it is very cool. Thank you for putting that up there. That's
a big, wonderful deal.
Yeah, you know what it is though? Like the thing is this, I'll say this because I try not to get too into sobriety and stuff in public, not because for a whole bunch of reasons. It doesn't matter. I'm very open about it. You can ask me anything. Yeah. But the reality is the 10 years is not the amazing part. The amazing part is how happy I am.
Yeah.
Because 10 years ago, I was miserable. And 10 years ago, I did not have all the trappings of success, but it didn't look like I wasn't homeless and I wasn't in prison. It wasn't the way I pictured people who are drug addicts. And
right.
And it was miserable. And so today, I get to work in that field. I work with these guys. My boss was in Korn, the band.
Oh wow.
One of my dearest friends was one of the original members of Snot, and then he was in Seven Dust. So all these like old metal bands that I used to, that I used to listen to a lot when I was in my teens. You know, I'd wrap around sunglasses and poor taste in music. They'll take that so personally. I'm kidding. I'm not really kidding. It's not what I listen to.
Kidding, not kidding. Yeah.
But like, so tomorrow to celebrate, you know, a bunch of us are getting together and we're gonna go play at a rehearsal space and just freak out and play music. And that's the gift. The gift is not the 10 years. The gift is that I have these people in my life who also play music. And the idea that like, how am I gonna be a musician and be sober? And it's like, it's so much easier. I did a session and I remember we smoked so much weed before the session. And we had not worked out the arrangement. We were doing these two songs. I was in this band, and we were doing these two songs for Christmas. And it was like August in Los Angeles. And it was 1,000,000 degrees outside.
Right.
And I just remember like we were trying to figure out how we were going to play these songs, and they came off fine. But I remember looking at my guitar, my dobro at the time, and just like, I don't know how we're going to do this. This is a nightmare. This is.
Wow.
It was just like the room was like spinning and like it was, and the guy was like, all right, are you guys ready? And I was like, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't know. Oh God, I don't miss. And now if I show up to a session, I have way fewer sessions. And usually I do them here, which is another joy of the internet. I'm all over the place right now. The point is,
it's all good. This is all good stuff.
But the point of it is like, it's all joyful, right? And it's I'm never sitting there spaced out or worried that people can tell I'm high or worried about what I played in a band and the rule was that I wasn't allowed to drink whiskey until after the gig. And like looking back on that, the fact that had to be a rule, that was way before I got sober, right? But like, it's just not, the number of gigs where I collapsed the cone on a dobro one time because I was just way too drunk and fired up and just banging on the guitar, and the cone dropped into the guitar like halfway through the gig, and halfway through the gig I had this rattly mess of a dobro, and it's like all those things. None of that's an issue anymore. That's what's cool.
Yeah. Well, you were just everything coming out of you from before we even started recording until now is just joy. I mean, I'm using. I would have said happy or positivity, but I'll use your word, joy. You strike me as a happy guy. The other thing I thought of is that a lot of us, myself included, I like the concept of living your best life, and holy crap, are you living your best life? I'm confident in saying that. Yeah, I could tell you're doing that. Yeah.
Well, but the other thing I think is like, if you had told me 10 years ago that this was my life, that I wasn't touring, that I was married, right. and sober and working for a company called Rock to Recovery, I would have been like, I don't want any of that. And
you would have been wrong.
I mean, this is an awesome day, and the guitars behind me, the fuzz pedals. I didn't know I liked fuzz pedals until the pandemic started, really.
Right.
All the idea that like it's gonna just keep coming, right? Like I don't ever want to say never again. Because maybe I'll go back to playing like really weird heavy rock. Like maybe that'll be the thing. I don't think it will be.
That could be in 25 years for all you know.
It could, but that's the thing. Being really open, being able to go, this is awesome today.
Yes.
And it doesn't have to be this way tomorrow. And that's for music, and that's for my life, and that's for all that stuff is the coolest part. Yeah.
I mean, I'm looking at your life right now. You've got a podcast with your brother. You're building guitars. I mean, that's joyous. I mean, I love working with wood. Like that's just, it's so satisfying to me. So you're working with wood, you're creating music, and you're performing music, and you get to do so much of it from home, which is really amazing.
Which is the most joyful part. I mean, it's just, people think I'm joking because I do come off as pretty gregarious, and talking about guitars or sobriety, those two things, you'll get me talking all day. But like I don't, like when the pandemic hit, my partner was making fun of me because they were like, you are built for this. Because the idea of sitting alone, now I ended up being a frontline worker because of what we were doing with recovery and stuff. So I ended up actually not having a lot of time off. But the idea of like, you're going to sit by yourself in your house all day. Like,
and do the stuff you love to do.
With all my toys, that's what I'm talking about. I have, all these fuzz pedals, all these amps, all these
How many fuzz pedals do you have?
Well,
Give me a ballpark.
I can't even, I mean, more than 60.
Oh my God, more than 60?
Yeah, well, yeah, I have at least 12 fuzz faces. Like fuzz face style pedals. Like not even the other stuff. And I'm fortunate to be endorsed by, or at least be sent pedals by a lot of people. So a lot of these are pedals that, a lot of them are pedals I paid for.
Okay.
And then also a lot of them are pedals where like maybe I bought the first one or two, and then a company saw what I was doing with them and putting the pedal in the video and everything. And they're like, well, hey, how much do you charge for a demo? And the answer is I don't charge for demos because I've already done it.
Unbiased. Yeah.
Well, and I've already commodified my music. I've already commodified the other joy of today. Part of what was hard about touring and all that was like if somebody was like, hey, do you want to come play? I played at the opening for an REI.
Okay.
For 3 days. Like, I guess like when a new REI opens, people who love REI line up outside an REI. It's a very cool thing. But I was playing from like either 6 to 8 or 7 to 9 in the morning outside for 3 days in a row for the people in line. That is an awful gig. It's an awful gig. But I had to take it because I needed the money. And and I've commodified my music enough where if somebody sends me a pedal that I don't like, I just send it back. I don't have to I'm not
right. You're not
if you want me
obligated to them.
Yeah, and then if you send me the pedal and I like it, then I just put it in there once in a while. It's always a mistake when I'm like, I don't really want to do this, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna do it because of the money or because of the product or whatever. It has always turned out to be a mistake. And when people
Right.
go, I want to send you a pedal with no expectations, it's almost always cool.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
You know? And like that's the other thing that's so much fun is getting to interact with these builders, and they're small builders
Right. Right.
who are really the community for the most part, and at least the community I get to deal with is really
Yeah.
supportive of each other and loving and amazing.
That's
And
really
so,
good stuff.
you know what I mean? Like and those are people I want to support. So when they send me a pedal, I'm like, I like this. Well, let me buy some of the pedals. You
Yeah,
know,
that's super cool. Yeah. Have you heard of the Karen? Did you ever see that on the internet?
No. Oh wait,
Uh,
was it a pedal?
it was a pedal, and it's got a picture of a Karen with the Karen haircut.
Who made it? I think I saw that.
Scott, help me. It was Eddie Rifkin, I believe. He's my social media friend now. We had him on our show.
Okay, I remember it. I don't know if somebody else shared it, although Eddie Rifkin's name sounds familiar.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the right name. And what's so cool is that he's a real artisan. He was very into quality control. So even though he came up with this clever, I mean, it was a brilliant idea because that's especially. Oh yeah, right. It says, I'll read it out loud because we're looking at the chat. One of his pedals says, "Don't use that tone with me. Increase the rage."
It's so good.
It's brilliant, and the irony is, he actually they were someone could do that and build a crappy pedal and just try to. No. Everything was built by hand. He was all increased the rage. All of it was really, he had such sort of engineering pride in what he was putting together. So as you're talking to me about this small community of folks, he's going to get us something cool. I can tell.
I'm grabbing a couple things.
I'm psyched.
Just because as we talk about this and the artisans and these cool guys who so yeah, the other part about the small builders is right, they're taking so much pride in what they do and so much attention to detail.
You're about to show us a cool circuit board, aren't you?
I'm going to show you. Well, I got two here because I have as we talk about this, and these people, some of them, so Marcus Reeves is from Reeves Electro, and he was one of the first guys to go, hey man, you play great. How can we get one of my pedals in your hands? I can't give you one, but we'll figure it out. And I was like, here's what, let's see what we're talking about, and we were able to figure it out. And this,
by the way, you're going to be alone on the camera in a minute. I'm going bye so we could see you more close. I'll still be here.
All right. Well, there's this, which is. So this is the Reeves Electro pedal, and it's all point to point. It's unreal.
That is so clean inside.
It's awesome, and it's all point to point. He's using these black hat transistors. He's etching the board himself.
Oh my god!
This is one of the earlier ones. He's got a whole new enclosure and stuff now. This was December 2020, right? So this is kind of
what's the build material on the box?
I think it's just aluminum or steel or whatever.
Sure as hell isn't plastic though, right?
No. These are you could do some damage. And then I have this other one from Espresso, and I have so many fuzz pedals. So I to all the builders who are watching, I'm sorry. But like one of the things that's interesting with like the old fuzz faces and stuff, and I just did a YouTube video on this, or it's coming out next week or something. But the point is, like, I really love these builders because the attention to detail is part of it, but then also scrounging for parts and finding the cool, the really cool old mojo-filled parts. When I talk to these people, Aisha from Low Sounds lives just up the street. Well, not just up the street. She lives a little ways away. But she talks about how much time she spends looking for parts. Like this is another one where it's just like it's all point to point. It's all
gorgeous. It's pathetic to say, but it's gorgeous.
It's gorgeous, and it's art. But it's like these are old germanium transistors that are incredible. And so many of these look this way. When you look inside and you go, that's amazing.
It's just clean. It's very clean in there.
And it's perfect. And I love it. And they're just, so these little builders, the other part is the attention to detail that they are. Actually, I'm gonna take this battery out while I have this open during this interview.
I can't read what Scott just wrote. Take a look.
I have clear stuff coming out.
Thank God for post.
But
yeah,
like builders who are building like that versus, I have a Dunlop fuzz face.
okay.
Not one of the old. I have an old one too. That's really cool. But I have a newer one that is fine. It
Right.
sounds fine, but there's so many things built into it to protect power and to provide filtering so you don't get noise and all these things that guitar players are afraid of. And it's
Right.
like these guys, these are noisy pedals, but
Right.
there's so much mojo in there, and they're so clean, and they're bulletproof, and they're
Yeah.
built with love and every component. And then if something goes wrong or something isn't doing what you need it to,
You pick up the
or-
phone.
you pick up the phone.
Yeah.
And so here's another thing that happened with the espresso. So a vintage style fuzz face
Okay.
almost doesn't have enough volume to reach unity when you step on it.
Okay.
And so I said to Soph, who builds these, I said, listen, I want to, is there a way for me to get more volume out of this? And he
Right.
goes, yeah, man. And I'm a pretty handy guy, and I've worked on guitars, and I've fixed some amps, and I've built some pedals myself, et cetera, et cetera. And
Yeah.
we had spoken about all this. He goes, I'm going to send you a resistor, because he's in England.
Okay.
He goes, I'm going to send you a resistor, and I'm going to tell you which resistor to change. And then like a week later in the mail is this vintage resistor. So he wasn't even like, yeah, just replace this with, he just sent it free of charge. He was like, here's the resistor.
That's someone they're just all about making their product the best it could be.
Right.
And making you the happiest you could be.
It's and so
Yeah.
these are the guys that I want to support, and I've bought. None of these were given to me. I bought all of his pedals. I have 4.
Wow.
And but that's the kind of stuff where it's like, dude, those are the people I want to buy guitars from. Those people I want to buy amps from.
Yeah.
Gio is always taking care of me. Darko's always taking care of me. Those people I want to buy guitars from. Those are the things that when people are just excited about you enjoying their product.
Yeah.
That was always the way I wanted to be a guitar tech too. Was like, I want people to feel like they couldn't have spent their money better. And with Marcus from Reeves, with this amazing circuit, and with Soph, and with all these other people, it's like, this is the best way I could have spent my money.
Yeah.
And I love supporting this small community, especially as these bigger corporations keep doing more and more stuff.
It's hysterical. I was just in Phoenix a few months ago for a conference, and at one of the booths, they spent a couple of bucks, and they had a barista making coffee.
All right.
You're a barista.
Yeah.
Like I'm chatting. I ended up geeking out on coffee with that guy for about an hour.
Uh-huh.
And talking about beans and where they're sourced and what kind of machine he likes to use. Then we spent all sorts of time looking at the cool machine he brought to the booth with him. And he's showing me how this machine is good, but it's really difficult to clean, and you got to do this. But it makes the best, it makes the best beans. And how long do you let the beans sit after they roast before you want to use them? And what about oil or lack of oil or light or dark? But he's friends with all the other baristas and the people who roast their own beans and things like that. Right. And I love what you're talking about. Is the same thing. It's this small community of folks who hopefully they'll make a decent living, but what they're really focused on is the artisanship of what they're doing, and to help the people who are sort of at the end of their product line, and to help each other. Like, I'm going to bet that guy who sent you the resistor would probably send it to a competitor if his competitor needed one.
Oh, and that's the other thing that's it. Like a bunch of those guys, because there's Seeker Electric Effects and there's R2R Electric. I don't know if you've heard of any of those guys.
No.
There's a bunch of them who have started an Instagram page together, which they haven't really done anything with it, but apparently they're all in a group chat. They all help each other out all the time.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all. Right.
Because they're nerds the same way. I worked for Bill Asher for a long time, but not for a long time, for a couple of years as a tech and as a luthier. And then I went and I worked at this shop in Santa Monica, which was about 20 minutes away. But if I needed something, I could call Bill, and he would help me out. And he would either talk me through the repair that I didn't know how to do yet. I almost ruined a actual PAF for a guy. Wow. He had put 2 PAFs in his guitar, and I pulled one out because it was out of phase, and I was going to flip the magnet, and I damaged the winding as I took the cover off.
Oh wow!
And I called Bill, and I was like, "Dude, I screwed up."
Yeah.
And he was like, "Come on down." And I came down, and not only did he fix it, he showed me how he fixed it. He talked me through it, and all those things. And the customer, I told him all about that, so he knows.
Yeah.
But like all that stuff, there are people who act like this stuff is secret, and there are people who act like this stuff is rocket science somehow. And those people who, whether they don't want to talk about their tunings or their technique, I'm not going to show you how I do that thing, or how they fix a guitar, how they build. None of this stuff is like, the joy is in sharing it.
Yes.
When I was a kid, and there was like 6 of us that were learning guitar, I was like, dude, I learned this thing. I learned how to bend a note. I learned how to do, the first time somebody showed me how to do a pinch harmonic, it was like, that's I want that collaboration with everybody.
Yeah. This is, you just brought us to a perfect place.
Okay.
Because, like, we're talking about positivity. You're talking about a community of people. And I just love, like, whether we're talking about pickups, whether we're talking about lap steel, whether we're talking about coffee, it's I got seltzer right here.
Okay.
And I'm not an endorser, but it tastes good enough. It tastes good enough. Yeah. This I could do. Scott's having fun off on the side. We get our chats here. We could do hours, but as is the case when we do a great show, the hour flies by like it's 5 minutes, and we've already been going an hour.
Wow, that's crazy.
Doesn't it feel like 5 minutes?
It does. It does. Well, yeah. I mean, yes.
It's a couple of folks talking about guitar and gear.
That is shocking. It's shocking that it's an hour.
Yeah, we have for 4 years we've been having this happen. That Scott will shoot me a reminder because this is just you and I going out and having a cup of coffee together and chatting guitar and gear and a little bit about life. But sadly, we have to call it a close at some point. Yeah, there we go. I'll give you one too. There we go. Scott's got it off camera.
This has been joyful. This has been
absolutely. The same here for Scott and I. And more important than for Scott and I are all the folks who are listening and will be listening to us. This is such an old man question. I think I'm going to stop asking it soon. How do we find you?
So right now, you guys are catching me at a really interesting point because I'm in a transition. Okay. So right now, I have a website. It's still like the old singer-songwriter guy. The best places are either youtube.com, Matt Bradford Music, or Instagram, Matt Bradford Music.
So that's great. Matt Bradford Music.
It's not that creative, but we're going to go with it.
For a name like yours, that's a relatively, if it's not a common name, it's certainly not a unique name. That you were able to get Matt Bradford Music is pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, there's a bunch of us now on Spotify, which is not frustrating at all, Dave.
And thankfully, you didn't raise your voice when you got frustrated at all. Yeah, like going from one common name to another, Dave Cohen. I had my identity stolen by someone who hated a different Dave Cohen. So and he ended up in jail. That literally happened. I got a call from the Ocean County, New Jersey prosecutor's office. We have a guy in jail that says he's you, and we know he's not you.
Nice.
So I have an even more common name than yours, I suspect. So I want to thank you so much for joining us. This was joyous, joyful, positivity, just absolutely fantastic.
Dude, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And Scott's great idea. We're gonna sign off with Phil X. He even gave me another reminder because he knows how crappy my memory is. So he literally wrote it twice, and that was smart of Scott to do. Because Phil X talks about nerding out. Our show is, maybe we'll let non-nerds watch, but we're really for the nerds. So thank you again so much, Matt Bradford. We want you to tune in for more Guitar Tales. I'm going to be saying this every time. Subscribe, because the more you subscribe, the more you'll get notification for our shows. That will hopefully make you happy. And it helps us because we get the word out there. Good for everyone. Thank you again for Charles Larita for Mischief Studios. I almost screwed that up. And more importantly, dare I say, Scott Guitarist Engel, who keeps me straight, who keeps the show on the air, who does all sorts of work. When you and I sign off, Scott has about 5 hours of work in front of him.
I can't even imagine.
Yeah, and I am beyond grateful for that. And the people who watch the show are the beneficiaries of that. So thank you so much. We'll see you next time on Guitar Tales.
And it's Phil X, and you're watching Guitar Tales with Dave Cohen. And Guitar Tales, like what else do you need, right? Guitar. We're geeks, nerds, gear, inspirations, positive vibes. Look out.
Hi, this is Dave Cohen, host of Guitar Tales, and
Scott Guitarist Engel.
so we put together this show every week for you guys, or at least every other week. We want you to do two things for us, which would be good for everyone. If you could subscribe on our YouTube channel, that would be great. And
share. Please share the videos around with your friends. Let them know Guitar Tales is out there. It's not just about guitar players. We have a lot to offer.
Thank you.